Hello. My name is Elena. You probably saw my face on the news last year. They blurred my eyes in some photos, but in others they didn't bother. I was the headline of the week. The scandalous mother. The fallen woman. The prostitute in the suburbs. They wrote articles about my double life. They interviewed my neighbors who said they were shocked and disgusted. They called me an unfit mother. They called for child protective services to take my son away. But no one, not a single journalist, not a single neighbor, and certainly not the judge, asked me why. They were too busy judging the way I made money to ask what the money was for. I am here to tell you the truth. I sold my body to strangers in hotel rooms. Yes, I did. I swallowed my pride. I swallowed my nausea, and I let men use me. I did it because the alternative was watching my 6-year-old son die in a hospital bed, because I couldn't afford the medicine that would save him. So before you judge me, listen to the price of a life. Before the nightmare began, I was boring. That's the best word for it. I was a boring, happy, single mother working as a receptionist at a dental clinic. My life revolved around my son Leo. Leo was 6. He was obsessed with dinosaurs and space. He had a gap in his front teeth and a laugh that sounded like hiccups. We lived in a small apartment, paycheck to paycheck, but we were okay. We had pizza nights on Fridays. We had walks in the park on Sundays. I thought my biggest worry was saving up for a new winter coat for him. Then came the bruises. It started with small purple marks on his shins. I thought he was just playing rough at school. He was a boy, boys fall down. But then the fatigue set in. Leo, my ball of energy who used to run circles around the sofa, started falling asleep at 4 p.m. He looked pale, almost translucent, like a ghost of himself. I took him to the pediatrician, expecting to hear iron deficiency or growth spurt. I remember the room. I remember the smell of rubbing alcohol and the sound of the paper crinkling on the exam table. The doctor didn't look at me. He looked at the blood test results. Then he looked at the wall, and finally, he looked at me. Elena, we need to transfer him to the oncology department immediately. His white blood cell count is dangerously high. Leukemia. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The word hung in the air like toxic smoke. I couldn't breathe. I looked at Leo, who was playing with a plastic T-Rex on the floor, completely unaware that his own blood had declared war on him. They started treatment immediately. The first month was a blur of chemotherapy, vomit, tears, and hair falling out in clumps on his pillow. I held his hand while he screamed. I slept in a chair next to his bed for 3 weeks straight. I lost my job because I stopped showing up. I couldn't leave him. But we had hope. The doctors said he was a fighter. We had a plan. And then the second blow came. Not medical, but financial. We live in a world that likes to pretend every life matters. But that is a lie. Lives matter only if you can pay for them. My insurance had a cap. It covered the basics, the standard protocol. But Leo's cancer was aggressive. He wasn't responding to the standard chemo. The doctor sat me down in his office, a nice office, with mahogany furniture and pictures of his healthy children on the desk, and told me the news. The standard protocol isn't working, Elena. We need to switch to immunotherapy. There is a new drug, CAR T-cell therapy. It has a very high success rate for his specific mutation. I felt a wave of relief. Okay, I said. Let's do it. When do we start? The doctor hesitated. He tapped his pen on the desk. The insurance company has denied the request. They classify it as experimental for this stage. They won't cover it. Okay, I said, my voice shaking. So I pay for it. I'll set up a payment plan. How much is it? He looked at a piece of paper. $300,000. And that's just for the initial round. We need a deposit of $50,000 to even order the cells. $300,000. I laughed. It was a hysterical, broken sound. I had $400 in my checking account. I don't have that, I whispered. The doctor looked at me with eyes that were tired and practiced in delivering bad news. Without this treatment, Elena, the prognosis is poor. Weeks, maybe 2 months. I went to the hospital administration. I begged. I cried. I showed them pictures of Leo. The administrator, a woman with kind eyes but a hard mouth, shook her head. I'm sorry, Ms. Miller. We are not a charity. The pharmaceutical company sets the price, not us. No funds, no treatment. We can't start the procedure without the deposit. I went home and looked at my apartment. I sold my car. I sold my mother's jewelry. I sold the TV. I emptied my pathetic savings. I raised $4,200. It wasn't even 10% of the deposit. I started a GoFundMe. I posted it everywhere. Friends donated $20, $50. Strangers ignored it. Do you know how many sick kids are on the internet? Thousands. Leo was just another face in a sea of tragedy. We raised $3,000 more. I applied for grants. Denied. Waitlist. Funding exhausted for this fiscal year. The clock was ticking. Every day Leo got weaker. His skin was gray. He stopped playing with his dinosaurs. He just lay there, looking at me with eyes that trusted me to fix it. Mommy, when can we go home? He asked. And I had to look at him and lie. Soon, baby. Mommy is figuring it out. I was failing him. The system had decided my son was too expensive to keep alive. It happened on a Tuesday. I was at a coffee shop, using their free Wi-Fi to research high-interest loans that I knew I wouldn't qualify for. I was crying silently, tears dripping onto the keyboard. A woman sat down at the table next to me. She was beautiful, impeccably dressed, expensive bag, perfect hair. She saw me crying and handed me a tissue. We started talking. I don't know why, maybe I just needed to scream at someone. I told her everything. The cancer, the money, the dead end. She listened, sipping her latte. She didn't offer me pity. She offered me a solution. I was in debt once, she said softly. Student loans, sick mother. It felt like drowning. She slid a card across the table. It wasn't a charity. It was a website. An agency. It's high-end escorting, Elena, she whispered, leaning in. It's not standing on a street corner. These are wealthy men, businessmen. They want company, dinner, and yes, intimacy. They pay well, very well. My stomach turned. I felt physical nausea. I can't do that, I said. I'm a mother. She looked at me, her eyes hard. Exactly. You are a mother. What is your limit? What won't you do to save him? She left. I stared at the card for an hour. That night, I went to the hospital. Leo was sleeping. He looked like a skeleton. The nurse told me his counts were dropping again. We need that therapy, Elena, she said gently. We are running out of time. I went to the hospital bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw a woman who was tired, aged by grief, but I also saw a woman who was desperate. I thought about my body. It was just flesh. It was just skin and bone. If I sold my car to save him, why was selling access to my body any different? If I was willing to scrub toilets or dig ditches, why was this the line I couldn't cross? Dignity is a luxury for the living. The dying don't care about your pride. I registered on the site that night. I used a fake name, Bella. The first time, I disassociated. That's the clinical term. I mentally left the room. He was a man in his 50s, an architect. He wasn't violent. He wasn't mean. He was just a stranger. He touched me, and my skin crawled. Every instinct in my body screamed run. But I forced my mind to go to the hospital room. I visualized the foredrip. I visualized the bill. $500 for dinner. $1,000 for the night. When it was over, I went to the bathroom and scrubbed my skin until it was red. I vomited in the toilet. I felt dirty. I felt like I had lost a piece of my soul that I could never get back. But then he handed me the envelope. Cash. I drove straight to the bank. I deposited it. The number in my account went up. That was the beginning. I developed a routine. During the day, I was Elena, the devoted mother sitting by Leo's bedside, reading stories, holding his bucket while he threw up, arguing with doctors. At night, my sister would come to watch him. She thought I had found a night shift job at a warehouse, and I would become Bella. I learned to turn off the lights inside my head. I learned to smile when I wanted to scream. I learned to fake desire when all I felt was numbness. I slept with lawyers, with tourists, with married men who bored me with stories of their wives. I was selling pieces of myself, night after night. But the pile of money grew. 10,000, 20,000, 40,000. I walked into the hospital administration office 3 months later. I looked the same administrator in the eye. I slammed a cashier's check on her desk. $50,000, I said. Start the treatment. She looked surprised. Oh, you found the funds. That's wonderful. She didn't ask where it came from. She didn't care. The system doesn't care if the money is clean or dirty, as long as the check clears. Leo started the CAR-T therapy. It was brutal, but it worked. Slowly, the color returned to his cheeks. His white cell count stabilized. He laughed again. I looked at him and thought, I would do it again. I would do it 1,000 times. I thought I had won. I thought I had beaten the system. But secrets are like cancer. They metastasize. It wasn't the police. It wasn't a sting operation. It was bad luck. One of my clients was the father of a child in Leo's school district. He didn't know who I was when we met in the hotel. But weeks later, he saw me at a school fundraiser I attended while Leo was in remission. He didn't keep it to himself. Maybe he felt guilty. Maybe he was just cruel. He told his wife. His wife told the PTA. Someone found my profile on the agency site. They took screenshots. It spread like a virus. First, the whispers. The looks at the grocery store. Then the messages. Whore. Disgusting. How dare you be around our children? Then the local blog picked it up. Suburban Mom's Secret Life Exposed. They posted my real name. They posted pictures of me from the site alongside pictures of me holding Leo. I was fired from the part-time job I had managed to get. My landlord gave me an eviction notice, citing a morality clause. But the worst knock on the door came on a Friday morning. 2 women in suits. Police officers behind them. Child Protective Services. We have received multiple reports regarding the safety and moral environment of your child, the woman said. We are opening an investigation into neglect and endangerment. They wanted to take Leo. They stood in my living room, judging my clean apartment, judging the dinosaur toys on the floor, judging me. Ms. Miller, the social worker said, looking at me with undisguised disgust. Engaging in prostitution puts your child at risk. It demonstrates a lack of judgment and stability. We are placing Leo in emergency foster care pending a hearing. I screamed. I fought. I tried to block the door. They handcuffed me. Leo was crying, reaching for me. Mommy. Mommy. That sound. It broke me in a way the men in the hotels never could. They took my son. The son I had sold my soul to save. They took him because of how I saved him. The court hearing was a circus. The media was there. The concerned citizens were there. The state's attorney painted a picture of me as a depraved, reckless woman. She talked about the dangers of my profession. She talked about the unsavory characters I associated with. She called me immoral. She called me unfit. She said, Your Honor, this woman chose to sell her body. She chose a lifestyle of vice. How can we trust her to raise a vulnerable child recovering from cancer? My lawyer was a public defender, overworked and tired. He told me to show remorse. He told me to apologize, to say I was desperate and I would never do it again. I stood up. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. I will not apologize, I said. The courtroom went silent. I looked at the judge. I looked at the social worker. I looked at the camera lens in the back of the room. You call me immoral, I said. You call me unfit. You stand there in your expensive suits and you judge me. Where were you? I asked, my voice rising. Where were you when the doctor told me my son would die without $50,000? Where was the state? Where was the protection for my child then? I applied for aid. Denied. I asked for charity. Denied. The hospital told me, no funds, no treatment. They were ready to let a 6-year-old boy die because his mother was poor. Is that moral? I pointed at the prosecutor. Is it moral to put a price tag on a child's breath? Is it moral to say, your son can live, but only if you have a platinum credit card? I had two choices, I continued, tears finally streaming down my face. I could be a moral woman, a good mother who kept her legs closed and watched her son be buried in a small coffin. Or I could be the whore you see today and keep my son alive. I chose life. I chose my son. I went into those rooms, and I let strangers touch me, and every time, I died a little bit inside. But every dollar I earned bought a pill. Every hour I spent in those beds bought a day of life for Leo. You say I endangered him? I am the only reason he is breathing. The state abandoned him. Society abandoned him. I was the only one who stepped into the fire to pull him out. So go ahead, I whispered. Judge me. Call me names. But do not dare tell me I am a bad mother. Because I did what none of you had to do. I sacrificed my dignity so my son could have a future. And if I had to do it all over again, if I had to choose between my reputation and his life, I would make the same choice. Every single time. There was silence in the courtroom. I saw the social worker look down at her file. I saw the judge shift in his chair. They didn't give me a standing ovation. This isn't a movie. But the shame in the room shifted. It wasn't on me anymore. It was on them. The judge ruled that Leo could return to me, under strict supervision. I had to agree to counseling. I had to find suitable employment. I got my son back. When we walked out of the courthouse, the cameras were flashing. I held Leo's hand tight. He looked up at me, his hair starting to grow back, his eyes bright and alive. Mommy, are you okay? He asked. Yes, Leo, I said. I'm okay. We are not okay, really. The neighbors still whisper. I can't get a normal job because my name is Googleable forever. We are struggling. The cancer might come back. The money is gone. But tonight, I will tuck my son into bed. I will feel his warm forehead. I will hear his breath, steady and rhythmic. I am a fallen woman to the world. I am a scandal. I am damaged goods. But I look at my son, alive, and I know the truth. I am a mother, and I paid the price. Would anyone else have done differently? Don't answer that until you are standing by a hospital bed with an invoice for your child's life in your hand.